Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the show that tries to cut through all that digital noise and get straight to the insights that actually matter. Today, we are plunging into something really fundamental for modern security, protecting your digital assets. And look, this isn't just for, huge corporations with giant IT teams. These ideas, these principles, they're for anyone navigating the digital world. Business, personal life, it all counts. We're taking a deep dive into the Center for Internet Security Controls, the CIS Controls. Think of them like a foundational playbook, really, a set of best practices for cyber defense, designed to help basically anyone secure their systems and data. Now, this framework is pretty big, 18 core controls, 153 subcategories or safeguards. It sounds like a lot. But here's the thing, you don't need to memorize all those numbers. Our mission today, our shortcut for you, is to really understand the purpose and the application of the first three essential controls. Why they matter. So specifically, we're going to unpack Control 1, inventory and control of enterprise assets, that's your hardware. Then Control 2, inventory and control of software assets.
And finally, the big one, Control 3, data protection. We really want to give you some clarity on these critical areas. Before we dive deeper, a quick reminder that this deep dive is based on material from Farhat lectures. All content, examples, and explanations discussed here are derived from the comprehensive accounting resources at farhatlectures.com. Whether you're an accounting student, CPA candidate, or professional, visit the website for additional practice questions, video lectures, and detailed support to reinforce today's topic. Special thanks to Professor Farhat for providing this valuable material.
Absolutely. And it's so important to remember, these aren't just, theoretical checklists. They're not just dry policy documents somewhere. They have real, tangible impacts. They prevent actual security incidents. Understanding and applying these basics, it actively reduces risks. Risks that can lead to huge financial hits, damage your reputation, mess up your operations. They're not just nice-to-haves, they're essential.
Okay, so where do we start? It sounds like maybe the most basic thing, knowing what you actually have.
Exactly. That's CIS Control 1, your hardware guardian, as you put it earlier.
Right, like trying to protect your house, but having no clue what's inside or even how many doors and windows there are.
Precisely. Control 1 is all about actively managing, actively tracking all the hardware connected to your network. Servers, laptops, tablets, printers, phones, everything.
And the main goal there is?
The goal is simple. Make sure only authorized devices, the ones you know and trust, can get access. And just as importantly, find and block any unauthorized ones trying to sneak in. It cuts down risks like unauthorized access, data breaches, all sorts of nasty stuff. Because fundamentally, if you don't know it's connected, you just can't protect it. It's ground zero.
That makes total sense. But, for a small business maybe, or just me at home with my devices, how do you realistically keep track? Is it a constant, battle to keep that list accurate?
That's a really good point. It gets to the core challenge. It's not just making the list, the asset inventory. It's keeping it alive, keeping it current. So many places fail because the inventory is outdated almost immediately. You get these ghost assets floating around big security blind spots. So yeah, you need a detailed list, spreadsheet, specialized tool, whatever works. You need the type like Tablet Surface Pro 8 model, serial number, warranty info, who bought it, support contacts for that laptop Dell 3000 and everything else.
It's less about a static list and more about active management across its whole life. Exactly right. And beyond just listing, you need asset classification, basically figuring out what's critical and what's less so. For instance, your financial servers holding customer data, highly critical, need top-tier protection, an office printer. Still important sensitive stuff gets printed, but maybe classified a bit differently. Even for you personally, your main work laptop is probably more critical than, say, an old tablet you barely use.
Okay. And you mentioned its life, so asset tracking.
Yep. Following it from purchase to deployment, if it moves right through to retirement, giving each thing a unique ID helps a lot here.
And controlling who uses it.
That's access control. Setting up rules, making sure only the right people can access specific assets, especially the critical ones, using firewalls, maybe intrusion detection systems, access control lists, ACLs, even managing temporary access for vendors or auditors carefully.
And you have to keep watching.
Constantly. Continuous monitoring, using tools to spot those rogue devices, unapproved hardware popping up on the network.
Rogue devices. Sounds a bit sneaky. What about when you're done with the hardware? You can't just toss it, can you?
Absolutely not. That's asset disposal. Crucial step. When it's end of life, you must wipe all data securely. Think about your old phone or laptop. Control 1 means really scrubbing it clean before you sell it, donate it, recycle it, prevents data leaks. And you need an incident response plan if something unauthorized does show up or gets compromised. Plus, user education, training people about the risks, why they shouldn't plug in random USB drives, that sort of thing, it applies everywhere.
Okay, so bring it back to the listener. Small business owner, home user. How do these safeguards actually work in practice?
Well, CIS structures this using safeguards applied to different implementation groups, or IGs. Think of IGs as tiers based on your size and security maturity. So some safeguards apply to everyone, IG1, IG2, IG3. Things like establish and maintain detailed enterprise asset inventory and address unauthorized access. That means even if you're just starting out a solo operation, you need that basic hardware list.
But it gets more complex as you grow.
Right. An IG2 company, kind of intermediate, should utilize an active discovery tool, like a network scanner looking for devices, or maybe use dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP logs, to update the inventory automatically. Then for the big players, IG3, you get more advanced stuff, like using a passive asset discovery tool, maybe just listening to network traffic, doing weekly scans. It scales up.
Okay, that makes sense. It scales. Now, moving from the physical stuff, the hardware, to the invisible stuff.
Yeah.
Software. Control 2. If Control 1 was the blueprint of the building, Control 2 feels like knowing what's happening inside the rooms, right? The software running everything.
It's a great analogy. Yeah, Control 2 is about actively managing all the software on the network, making sure only authorized software gets installed and run, finding and stopping the unauthorized stuff.
And the risks here are similar.
Similar, but also distinct. Unauthorized or unmanaged software brings vulnerabilities hackers can exploit, malware infections, compliance problems with licensing, lots of headaches. Knowing what software you actually have is step one. And a big pitfall. Assuming old software is fine, that program you installed 5 years ago could be a huge security hole now. Digital dust bunnies, as you said.
So like hardware, step 1 is a software inventory.
You got it. A full list. Operating systems, office suites like Word, Excel, databases, security tools, everything. For bigger places, automated tools are pretty much essential here. They just constantly scan and update the list.
And classifying it too.
Yep, software classification based on criticality, sensitivity, maybe electronic health record software is super critical, Word or Excel, maybe less critical but still needs managing. It helps you focus protection efforts.
And then you need that approved list.
Exactly. An authorized software list. This is what's allowed. Specific versions, configurations. If it's not on the list, it's unauthorized. Simple as that, in theory.
Theory being the key word sometimes. What about keeping it safe?
That's where software updates and patch management come in. Huge. You have to update regularly, patch vulnerabilities quickly, automated tools or your friend here, making sure things don't slip through the cracks.
And getting rid of bad stuff or stopping it from running.
Right. Software removal regularly, checking for and uninstalling unauthorized or just plain old, unused software. And then there's whitelisting. Whitelisting is proactive. Instead of blocking known bad software like blacklisting does, it only allows known good approved software to run, especially on critical systems. If it's not on the list, it doesn't execute, period.
That sounds powerful.
It is. Then there's license compliance. Keeping track of licenses, making sure you're not using more copies than you paid for, tracking expiration dates. Boring but necessary. And vulnerability management, constantly scanning your approved software for known weaknesses and patching them. And like hardware, having an incident response plan for software issues.
Seems like a parallel process to hardware, but for the digital bits.
Yeah.
Does CIS scale this the same way with the implementation groups?
Pretty much, yeah. Same tiered approach. Control 2, everyone, IG1, IG2, IG3 needs to establish and maintain a software inventory, make sure their authorized software is currently supported, meaning it gets security updates, and address unauthorized software. That's the baseline.
Okay.
Then IG2, the middle tier, you'd utilize automated software inventory tools, get beyond the manual spreadsheet, start to allow list authorized software. And IG3, the most mature, gets more granular. Things like allow list authorized script, using digital signatures, verifying specific code snippets. But the core idea holds. Even the smallest shop needs to know what software they have. The tools just get fancier as you scale.
Okay, hardware, software, now Control 3. Data protection. This feels like where it gets really personal for almost everyone, right? Even outside of work. Protecting your actual information.
Absolutely. This is huge. Control 3 is about making sure sensitive data is identified and properly protected through its whole life. When it's stored data at rest, when it's moving data in transit, even when it's being actively used.
And why is this so complex now?
Well, think about it. Data isn't stuck inside one company anymore, is it? It's shared with partners, customers, vendors. It lives in the cloud. So privacy today, data protection, it's not just about encryption, though that's vital. It's more about the appropriate use and management of data. Getting that right is key for compliance, for trust, for basic security. And here's something critical. Encryption is like your fortress wall, right?
Yeah.
But most big breaches, they don't happen because the encryption itself failed. They happen because someone got the keys because access controls were weak. Making sure only the right people get inside that fortress is paramount.
Okay, so how do we start building those defenses for data?
It starts, again, with knowing what you have. Data classification. You figure out what data is sensitive, what's critical, like financial data, customer account numbers, obviously highly sensitive, needs top protection. For you personally, maybe it's separating your bank login info from your, I don't know, your social media passwords, recognizing different levels of sensitivity.
And protecting it when it's moving around.
That's encryption in transit, using things like HTTPS for websites, VPNs for remote connections, TLS SSL for email. It scrambles the data, so even if someone intercepts it, it's unreadable garbage to them.
When it's just sitting there on a hard drive.
Encryption at rest, encrypting data on databases, servers, laptops, phones. Full disk encryption is a common example. If someone steals the laptop, the data is still protected.
Both are crucial. And controlling who sees what data.
Absolutely critical. Access control, using strict rules, often role-based access control, RBAC. Basically, you only get access to the data you absolutely need for your job. The principle of need to know. Not everyone gets to see everything.
I've heard of tools that stop data from leaving.
Data loss prevention, or DLP, yes. These are solutions that monitor data and actively prevent sensitive information from being transferred out inappropriately. There was that story about the banker trying to email account details. The DLP system blocked it, recognizing sensitive data. Then they send it encrypted with a separate key. That's DLP stopping leaks via email, file transfers, USB drives.
Smart. What about backups, if the worst happens?
You absolutely need secure backup and recovery. And guess what? Those backups of sensitive data, they need to be encrypted too and stored securely. And crucially, you need to test your recovery process regularly. Make sure you can actually restore that encrypted data when you need it.
And keeping an eye on things.
Logging and monitoring. You need good logs to see who accessed what data when, to spot suspicious activity like someone accessing sensitive files at 3 a.m. Setting up alerts helps catch things fast. And naturally, an incident response plan specifically for data breaches. Knowing who to notify, regulators, customers, and again, user education. Training people on how to handle data safely.
So how does CIS tier these safeguards? Same IG approach.
Exactly the same logic. For data protection, Control 3, there are basics for everyone, IG1, IG2, IG3. Things like establish and maintain a data management process inventory, configure data access control lists, need to know, enforce data retention, don't keep data forever if you don't need it, secure disposal of data, and encrypt data on end users' devices. Everyone needs these.
And the higher tiers add more layers?
Correct. IG2 and IG3 would also establish a data classification scheme, formally document data flows, and encrypt data on removable media like USB drives. Then IG3, the most advanced, gets into deploying a full data loss prevention solution, detailed logging of sensitive data access, and even segmenting data processing and storage based on sensitivity, creating separate zones for the most critical data. More layers as the risk and complexity grow.
Okay, that clarifies the three controls. So let's make this really practical. You mentioned an example from the source material. How would we apply this?
Yeah, let's try a quick scenario. Imagine you see this question. Which action is most relevant to managing hardware assets in a business organization?
Yep.
And your options are, say, A, regularly updating software to the latest version. B, identifying and securely disposing of retired hardware. C, encrypting sensitive customer data during transmission. And D, training employees on cybersecurity best practices.
Okay, A is software updates, so that's Control 2, not hardware. C is encrypting data, that's Control 3. D is training, which is important everywhere, but maybe too general.
Exactly.
So that leaves B, identifying and securely disposing of retired hardware. That sounds like it fits squarely into the lifecycle management we talked about for Control 1, wiping data, getting rid of old physical stuff.
Bingo. That's precisely it. Option B directly addresses a key part of the hardware asset management lifecycle we discussed under Control 1. It shows why understanding the focus of each control, hardware, software, data is so important. They're all connected, but they are distinct areas.
Right. And that really nails down why we dove into these three specifically today. We've only just scratched the surface of all 18 CIS controls, really, but hopefully we've given you a solid grasp on these first three foundational ones. Knowing and controlling your hardware, knowing and controlling your software, and the absolutely vital practice of data protection. And remember, this isn't just theory for big companies. These are principles you can apply right now in your business, in your personal digital life.
Yeah, and thinking about that, it brings up an interesting question for you, the listener, to sort of mull over after this. As you think about these controls, hardware, software, data, consider this. Beyond your actual computer or your files, what digital asset do you interact with daily that, if it got compromised, would cause the biggest chaos in your life or work? Maybe it's your online banking login, your main email account, your cloud storage with all your photos, your digital identity itself.
That's a great question. And following on from that, what's maybe one immediate simple step you could take today to better protect that specific asset? Maybe it's enabling two-factor authentication. Maybe it's using a stronger, unique password. Maybe it's checking your privacy settings. Think about it. Whether it's your work stuff, your social media, your health info, these principles apply. Taking just one small step to inventory, control, or protect those digital assets can really make a difference. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and stay safe.